Hello friends, this is Dipali Vedi. I'm a clinical psychologist. I am working with Sukoon Psychotherapy and we run an awareness program by the name of Sukoon Pledge to Seek Help. Today, what I'm going to talk about is borderline personality disorder in a very different perspective. Borderline personality disorder is being a lot talked about, and if I Google borderline personality disorder, you have a very negative understanding of what a borderline personality disorder can be. Over here, we are not over here to make it look very negative, but somewhere give a different understanding to what this disorder could come from. I would like to begin with this whole idea that, I always, when I observe movies, I realize that the older movies that you see and the current movies that you see, one of the biggest differences is this difference around the hero had a very clean, positive image, and the villain had an extremely negative image. Whereas today the characters have a grey space. When we learn developmental psychology and we learning about how morals develop in us, we do see that as the early ways of adapting morals is very black and white. It is very extreme. झूठ बोलना पाप है. But slowly and steadily we realize that it can be different perspective to the same thing. If I say the glass is half empty or if I say the glass is half full, it's a perspective. It is not about a lie. So if I say that I like this about you, but I don't like, but can we change this thing? Or I say this is wrong. हम बच्चे को हमेशा कहते हैं ये मत करो, ये गलत है, उधर हाथ नहीं लगाना, चोट लग जाएगी. This very recently I was observing somebody in my neighborhood do that, and I actually felt laughing, and I told to the mother that बेचारा रुक तो जा रहा है तुम्हारे कहने पे, पर उसको 2 मिनट के बाद कुछ और समझ नहीं आता, वो फिर से वही कर रहा है. So can you instead of that give him another distractor that you know what to do instead? Is things so black and white? Is things morals so black and white? It is very simplistic understanding कौन अच्छा है कौन बुरा है, because no person is completely negative like it was shown in the earlier movies. Whereas we now see the grey parts of people, and which is coming more closer to the reality of today. So when you see borderline personality disorder as they are defined in most of the text, it does talk about black and white thinking of an individual. So is it that the borderline personality disorder is a disorder because people did not change with time? Or is it something extremely negative that person has absorbed or become, or something which is completely weird and negative coming out of nowhere? But just indeed a thing that that they could not change with time. Again, borderline personality disorder are said to have mood swings, gussa extreme, docileness extreme, and which fluctuates without much of an external cause. You don't need sometimes external causes to change your mood swings. Your internal thought processes does that. So there is a lot of switching of the thought processes from one extreme to the other extreme, because they are not able to accept that there can be a gray zone. अगर ग्रे जोन है नहीं और बंदा एक्सट्रीम अच्छा और बुरा है नहीं, तो वो जितनी बार उसको जितनी बार देखने की कोशिश करूँगी, मैं उसको कभी एक्सट्रीमली नेगेटिव देखूंगी, कभी उसको एक्सट्रीमली पॉजिटिव देखूंगी, क्योंकि एग्जैक्टली वो ना एक्सट्रीमली नेगेटिव है ना वो एक्सट्रीमली पॉजिटिव हो, तो वो अंदर ही लड़ाई चलती रहती है कि यू नो इज द पर्सन extremely bad, should I destroy the person? And when I say he's extremely bad, there is that whole desire in them, the impulsive desire to destroy the person. I remember one of my clients would come in, and it was as intense as she's saying that, you know, my husband had before marriage had a girlfriend, and now I wish to destroy her. Means we tried to negotiate why so much of issues between you two. If that was before marriage, he's not contacted her after marriage, it's all a past. She said, there's a part of me which wants her to be destroyed, finished. How could she even have an affair with my man? Obviously this is the extreme version of it, because her thoughts are extreme, that, you know, how could you actually, you are so ill that, you know, you could have an affair with a random man, and that to my man, how could you do that? He was supposedly mine, he should have been mine ever since the beginning, he should have been waiting for me to come into his life. So where did she even come from? So she's the bad one. So the other thing is that, you know, because I can't, so when I'm saying that she is the bad one, I'm even trying to say that this one is still good. He would have been waited for me had she not come into his life, so he's the good one. But then there's a part of her which also says that, you know, he was also involved into a relationship, he fell into love with her. So, you know, so he's not so good. But there's no concept like not so good. It is on the other extreme which says he's the worst person on this earth. So इसके साथ में भी बदला लेना है. तो ये एक्सट्रीमिटी के बीच में घूमता रहता है इंसान, और उसको वो बीच का पोर्शन समझ नहीं आता है, समझना चाहता नहीं है, एक्सेप्ट नहीं करना चाहता, बदलना नहीं चाहता. ये क्वालिटी जब बच्चे में बढ़ती जाती है over the years, and person is not able to accept the change, as a grown-up one becomes a borderline personality disorder with inability to see the person in grey spaces, because most of us are in grey spaces. None of us are perfect. None of us are completely evil, devil. When we are unable to see that medium, the middle area, the grey area, the space which is fine, the person starts developing symptoms of borderline. Usually borderline is obviously found in kids who were rejected by parents, or given extreme confusing instructions by parents, and thus don't know who should be the right one, so the morals are extremely haywire, the understanding of life is too confused, and thus the confusion in the head, and thus the confusion in the behavior. And then then how to judge my own self. Usually, obviously, to feel intact, I'll judge myself as the good one and the other one as the bad one. So I am the best one, तुम बुरे हो, तुम ये है, तुम्हें destroy कर देना चाहिए. On the other side, so there comes a stage when there might be an immediate realization that, you know, I've done something wrong. And that would even go on the extreme, thinking that, you know, मैं हमेशा ही गलत करती हूँ, मुझसे कुछ समझता ही नहीं है, मुझे ठीक से कुछ करना नहीं आता है, सारा कसूर मेरा है. So bend down or harm oneself that maybe I'm not good enough, I might slit myself, कि सारी गलती मेरी ही है, शायद वो ही ठीक है, मैं ही गलत हूँ. And then that extreme version of, I am not good enough. So even this whole, obviously first we talked about the thinking process, which is black and white. Then we talked about this mood swings which fluctuate because of the thought process, and we talked about the impulsive behaviors of self-harm or the harm to the other. So these are somewhere what we are talking of, the core features of borderline personality disorder, which does happen due to a lot of confusion in the head and very strong understanding of what should be right and what shouldn't be right. The other thing that happens is sometimes the psychotic breakdown. The psychotic breakdown which happens in the borderline personality disorder is that when there's too much of chaos and one cannot accept the reality, one does go into that psychotic phase where there's complete denial of what is actually happening around, and create your own reality and live in that reality. So borderline personality disorder, if you see it very sensitively, it is just this confusion of wanting to see things more innocently, more like a child, that it is black and white, and unable to have a comprehending capacity of it having the grey capacity. And it was confusing because obviously एक साइड पे माँ कहती है कि बेसिकली अगर डैड की ये बात मानेगा तो मेरे से बात मत करना, दूसरी तरफ से माँ कहती है कि अगर डैड बड़े हैं डैड की बात मानो. So many of such things, confusing instructions being given, rejections at early age. I had this client who was almost disowned by the mother because what was the word, something used, he's unlucky for the family, I don't remember the exact word, and she almost disowned him, but soon that was the only son, so accepted him back. So there was always a confusion that I don't want you, but I want you. So this whole confusion which is given by the mother is too confusing. This happens with daughters, it's much more intense because you're my child, so you're wanted, but why were you a daughter, so you're not wanted, or because I'm getting rejected by your grandmother, मेरी सास मुझे गालियाँ दे रही है कि तेरी तीसरी बेटी भी पैदा हो गई है, so you're not wanted, but yeah, I like you. So this confusing information, this confusing thought processes impact a person, and they become too confused in their heads, and thus manifests in the form of borderline personality disorder. So we need to be slightly sensitive to this understanding of what a borderline personality disorder is. My understanding is because they have been brought up in a confused thought processes. A very clear-cut, structured environment helps them work better. Indeed, that's why maybe the borderline personality disorder is at a rise as of now, because borderline personality disorder, like structure, have a clear understanding of what should be done and what shouldn't be done. Now the society is confusing because we are questioning every norm. As an individual, as a society, we are questioning everything which is given to us. So if we are questioning everything, we don't know what is right and wrong, and they were already confused on what is right and wrong, so it's becoming worse as to what is right and wrong. So I shouldn't tolerate the man, anything that he gives me, any nonsense, sorry, not allowed. Even if your demand is genuine, please, nothing allowed, because I, being a female, would not tolerate it. But then I am the good female, so I'll tolerate everything. So I'll keep abusing you, I'll keep blaming you, but I'll still want to live with you, be with you, and continue with you. So this whole confusion that stays in the head is the problem. Why this borderline personality disorder manifests. And obviously the best aspect of working with the best thing that works with borderline personality disorder is to try to give them a more structured life, which is obviously with more rebellious women it becomes more difficult because they are not ready for the structure, because they don't want to be suppressed, but then you don't know how to function. So it's quite a sensitive space. So let's not just look at borderline personality disorder as something completely reject worthy, but maybe try to think of it differently. So I'll end it over here. Thank you.